Welcome to the Road to the Ryder Cup, hosted by Dr. Jeff Poblarski and my dad, PGA golf professional Frank Darby. Let's go USA.
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to another version of the Road to the Ryder Cup. My name is Frank Darby. I'm a PGA member in the Mets section. I was Keegan Bradley's coach at St. John's University, and my co-host is Dr. Jeff Poblarski. He's the head of the Wellness and Recovery for the USGA. He's a fixture at Bethpage, working with their junior programs as well. So let me turn this over to Jeff for a few updates on what is happening at Bethpage right now.
Yeah, sure, Frank. 13 days to go to this event, man. What a lead up. Just super, super pumped for it. So much excitement on Long Island and New York State. Construction sites about 95% complete as far as what the PGA of America is telling me. So within the next week's finishing touches will go on all 10 structures. And basically they're building a city to entertain thousands of people for the Ryder Cup. By the way, a big shout out to the PGA of America. They did put a piece of steel and a 343 fire helmet on the first tee yesterday in respect of the anniversary of 9/11, the 24th anniversary. Besides that, 17 days to our sponsors event, the Tunnel to Towers in New York City on that Sunday, September 28th. And Frank, 4 days to the 25th anniversary of 9/11, which is hard to believe. It's 25 years, but the Tunnel to Towers has all of these memorial services planned out for the 25th anniversary. And in my own personal life, I was kind of at like a junior Ryder Cup event, the Walker Cup out in Cypress Point last week for a week, where United States defeated Great Britain and Ireland at the legendary Cypress Point club, which is allegedly the #1 course in America. What a beautiful facility. But those are just some updates, Frank. And back to you with our very special guest introductions.
Cool. Well, hey, listen, we do have a great guest today. We've got the park director at Bethpage State Park, responsible for the day-to-day operations of the 1,500 acres out there, Scott Matson. So, Scott, thanks for being on the road to the Ryder Cup with us today.
No problem, Frank. No problem, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Scott, right off the bat, looking at your educational experience, I see that you went to SUNY Cortland.
Correct.
I think there's 64 SUNY schools in the state system. You got a major in physical education and a double minor in economics and management and a concentration in sports management. The reason why I bring that up is I happen to teach at Farmingdale State College myself in the sports management program there. But I wanted your response from the relationship of Bethpage to SUNY Farmingdale, and also Bethpage to Jones Beach. I know those are two very important entities for the Ryder Cup, but just a little thoughts about Farmingdale and Jones Beach.
Sure. Yeah. SUNY Farmingdale is a great partner of ours. Has been for quite some time. And we have these large scale major events here at Bethpage. We do have a great relationship with the AD, the golf team, and the golf coach. Week of the Ryder Cup, that'll be a lot of volunteer parking over there with shuttles coming back and forth to the course, dropping off volunteers. Jones Beach, the same way. Jones Beach is really integral to events like these. Definitely can't do it without them. A lot of the patrons who are going to be driving their own vehicles drive down there, park their car at the vast beach parking lots, and then take buses up Route 135 here to Bethpage. So it's really a linchpin of the event is the participation of both the Jones Beach and SUNY Farmingdale.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you what, I think what Jeff said before really kind of threw me for a loop there, but it's like building a city to entertain all of these people. So I'm sure you're going to have some great stories for your book about all the setup and the taking down of just all the infrastructure there. Have you had any good stories about dealing with any issues out there?
I mean, it's stories every single day. But it's really been great with the PGA and with their partners in terms of the build out. It's actually pretty wild, looking out my window and seeing how quickly that small city has gone up. I mean, it's been years and years of planning, at least 60 months of design planning went into this. on the PGA side. Weekly meetings with us for the last 3 or 4 years that have obviously ramped up now as we're getting closer. But starting to build on May 19th and seeing what it is, 4 months later is crazy to me. And they say it comes down faster than it goes up, so that remains to be seen. But it is a different thing for us to look out our windows when we normally see the lush green golf course, and now my view is blocked by a 5,000 person stadium surrounding the first tee and the 18th green.
Scott, I had a chance to talk to Evan Crowder the other day, and obviously, my relationship with the USGA. By the way, I just did my 50th USGA championship out in Olympic Club. So I've been with them since 2002. So I have a lot of thoughts about US Opens always in my brain. We have about 500,000 square feet of corporate space. Evan told me it's 1.6 million feet of corporate space, so triple the size of a U.S. Open. And I know you're looking at the window, looking at those triple-decker. By the way, what is that triple-decker tent on the left, the 1 and 17? Is there a name?
That's a corporate hospitality site. I know the Empire Club or the Empire Suites along the 101. But yeah, the triple decker is new to the site. We haven't had one of those before. What winds up happening for this footprint, the footprint hasn't really changed much from past events. The 19 PGA, the 09 Open, the 02 Open. But what's changed here is anything that was single decker in 19 is now double decker. Some of the things that are double decker are now triple decker. So you're right. It is 1.6 million square feet of decking and space and fencing.
So, it's interesting. I've been talking quite a bit this week about just the enormity of the Ryder Cup, and what are your thoughts? I mean, between like the World Cup, the Super Bowl, Kentucky Derby, my personal opinion is I think this is the biggest event ever held in the United States. What are your thoughts, Scott?
Frank, I agree with you. And having been to the last 2 Ryder Cups in Rome and with some Straits, I definitely got a good perspective of what the event is and what it actually means. And what I've been telling people to sort of compare it to things that might rise to that occasion. The first tee at the Ryder Cup is like nothing else, right? I mean, it's the best scene in sports. I was at the Game 7 Yankees Red Sox in 03 when Aaron Boone hit that home run. I was in those stands when that happened, and the first tee at the Ryder Cup is better than that. And I'm a huge Yankee fan. I was at the Super Bowl when the Giants beat the undefeated Patriots and Barstow Billis put that touchdown in the end zone, and that was great. But the first tee of the Ryder Cup makes that look small. So the event is huge. It is the biggest event in golf. It is the Super Bowl of golf, so to speak. And it's even ramped up even more being in New York.
Scott, I've been reading Newsday, and I'm seeing something kind of weird going on here. The Long Island Railroad, which I know you're depending on that to take people in from the city and other points on Long Island, coming into, I believe, Farmingdale, and then you're going to have shuttle buses going back and forth from the train station to Bethpage. But I'm sure you're aware they're talking about a strike, the Long Island Railroad. I don't know if you saw that. Is there any contingency plans if the railroad goes on strike?
They're discussing that right now, actually, and then they have been for the last, couple of weeks. We do have a good plan in place, as we already mentioned, with Jones Beach and being able to get buses here. Another change that was made for this Ryder Cup as opposed to the 19 PGA Championship is the rideshare lot is now on site here at Bethpage. We paved over a portion of one of the holes adjacent actually on the yellow course, adjacent to where the bus depot is. So you can take a Lyft or an Uber right here and get dropped off and picked up. In the past, you have to go to the Newsday headquarters in Melville and shuttle over. So depending on when this airs, Dr. Jeff, I'm hoping we get good news from that point by the LIR, because we're expecting about 18,000 people a day, of the 50,000 that are coming in to ride the train in.
Yeah, that train's going to be interesting because I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of Europeans taking that train out. They're probably all staying in New York City at some of their venues as well. But Scott, hey, so I just want to ask you, I grew up hanging out at Bethpage, playing in some tournaments. I mean, I'm talking 40 years ago. And that was such a cool place to go to because like you didn't have all the automated stuff that you can sign up and get a tee time. So you had to go out, and it was almost like a whole day affair going out there. There were lines going outside. There was a great little cafeteria, kind of similar to Horn and Hardt's. Now, you probably don't remember that. That's more my time than yours. Jeff probably remembers that one. But you would go there. There would be trays. I tell you what, you always had great staff out there. You got to know all the people. But, you would get there, and the line would be really long, and you'd have about a 2 or 3 hour wait. So you'd definitely be on the putting green. There'd be a lot of, good matches going on the putting green. And then you'd be on the range, and you'd be hanging out. It really was its own little community. And not that I miss it right now, but, it's so much different as to what you're supervising right now. I miss those old days.
Yeah, I don't know that we're too far away from that, Frank, to be honest with you. I mean, over the last 2 months, especially when the Black course stayed open till August 18th, we went walk-ups only. We didn't take reservations. We wanted to make sure that every member of the public who wanted to be here could actually be here and play. And if they wanted to play the Black, that they could do so. So it was great. We had a really vibrant and lively scene out there in our overnight lot. Some guys sleeping for 2 nights in the overnight lot to play the Black in July and August.
Yeah, I'm hearing that Bethpage is now open 24 hours a day because of all the people sleeping. Sounds like you guys need a hotel out there.
Yeah, that would be nice, and that'd be better for the golfers. So.
Scott, so as you know, our sponsor is the Tunnel to Towers. You could go on t2t.org and make as little as $11 a month donation to assist our American heroes. So let's hear from our sponsor, the Tunnel to Towers.
Hi, I'm Gary Player. I'm a professional golfer. I've won 165 tournaments, and I'm one of 5 golfers to achieve a Grand Slam career victory. But what means more to me than all of this is my ability to give back and do good, particularly to the United States of America. That's why I'm committed to helping Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Good to see you, Frank. Good to see you, Gary. How you doing?
You're one of the most successful golfers that ever played the game. You're an incredible human being, but you joined the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. You see the work we're doing, and you wanted to help us raise money because how much you love America.
And I'll never forget one of the days I went for you in Miami. This lady was on duty with her husband, and the police. She heard that her husband had just been killed. Now she's got 2 children. What's the first thought that comes to your mind? How am I going to support these children? How am I going to give them an education? How am I going to give them a normal life? What am I going to do with my mortgage? Tunnel to Towers is right there, across the board. I mean, what you do is fantastic.
Because you know the sacrifice that was made for our country to give us this beautiful country.
I doubt if there's anybody that loves the country more than I do. And I have said gratitude for what this country has not only done for me, but what it's done for the world.
And as a foundation, we're there to help these families after they lose their loved one and they have young families left behind. And I know you're here to join us on that.
Tunnel to Towers is working every day to support America's greatest heroes. Please donate $11 a month at t2t.org. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Let us do good.
So we're back here with Scott Matson, who's the park director at Bethpage. Just for our audience, New York State Park System, you have 180 state parks, 35 historic sites, 28 golf courses in 19 different locations. But for our audience, Bethpage State Park is more than a golf facility. There's other things offered on this property. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure, yeah. Bethpage is a 1,500-acre park that does have those 5 golf courses, but also a very robust recreational scene as well. We have picnic grounds that has 2 pavilions available to rent, plus space for walking picnickers. In that same area, we have a beach volleyball court. We have 2 basketball courts. We have 2 softball fields. There is a multi-use paved path that runs through the park. Actually runs from Mass Depot up to Cold Spring Harbor, and part of that path runs through the park for bikers, for walkers, for runners, for skateboarders, for roller skates, rollerblades. We do have multiple hiking trails and mountain biking trails, which is very popular with the mountain biking community. And we do have some educators on site as well that run environmental education programs for kids and school groups, and keep up our pollinated gardens and our bee area, and try and make sure that we're as environmentally friendly as we can, both on the golf course and off.
Scott, I tell you what, I just love everything about Bethpage, and being a member of the PGA and being out there. You guys are great in hosting the New York State Open. You're wonderful with all our juniors, with all our events as well. So it's always been a pleasure being out there. And the one thing that I always loved about going out there was just walking the hallways. It's almost like a little museum, because there's so many great pictures up there, from the past with, it was hallowed grounds back then with all the great players, and I guess they had an awful lot of exhibitions out there that must have been exciting to kind of follow some of these legendary players.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about that, being here and seeing some of the exhibitions, the pictures of that, the documentation of that. And I will say that, my predecessors, sat in this seat, whether it was Dave Catalano or Betsy Whitbrother, or who would have been before Dave, did a really good job of documenting those things and making sure that the history remains on the walls of the clubhouse to show the next generation that we're not just about the 02 and the 09 Open. We're not just about the 19 PGA Championship, and we're not just going to be about the 2025 Ryder Cup because of what's happened during the past.
The history of Bethpage, I guess it was called Lenox Hill Country Club. Is that accurate?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. And then what course was the first course built, and what is the newest course there?
Those are good questions, Jim. I don't know the answers to those, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think Frank Dobbs, wasn't it the green course was first?
Yeah, believe it or not, when I was at Nissaquag, I brought the locker room man. He was one of the locker room guys at the old Lenox Hill. It was the green course. And you can see Tillingham, A.W. Tillingham's influence on the green course, because you go out there, their green surfaces are fantastic. You can just see it. It's, probably needs a few more back tees, but I tell you what, I love the red. I used to host a big college event out there. What can you say about the black? But my third favorite course out there is by far the green golf course. So that was the first place. I think the tee was kind of up a little bit higher. It would be interesting to try to see if anybody has some pictures from those days.
Scott, one of the things, we've been doing this podcast for 30 plus weeks, and it's just been such a nice experience and a lot of positive responses from people, comments. But we were getting a few comments from some people that don't like the Ryder Cup. Some people are saying to us, you're taking away my golf course. I play this golf course every summer. What are your thoughts to those people that have a little negative side effect here because they don't have access to Bethpage?
Yeah, I can understand that perspective. I mean, nobody likes their routine to be interrupted by the doings of others, right? So I can totally understand the perspective. What I will say to that is, probably the most unique thing about hosting the Ryder Cup or hosting the PGA Championship at a public course is we stay open for as long as we can until the event actually occurs, right? So if you go to a Cypress or a place like that that's hosting bigger events, they're closed for months at a time as they get ready for these events, and the build out is going on while they're closed. The build out here has gone on while we've been open. We kept the black course, the green course, and the yellow course open until August 18th. So that's basically a month before the start of advanced week for the Ryder Cup. We kept the red course and the blue course open through business on September 7th, which was 5 days ago. Well, I can understand the perspective and not wanting your routine to get interrupted, not wanting to lose public space. We did, and I can say this with certainty, we did the best we possibly could to leave the courses open as long as we can. And on the other side of that, we're going to do the best we possibly can to get some of the courses open as quickly as possible after the event's over.
Yeah, that'll be pretty interesting. So what are you guys thinking about, like, on the horizon right here? I mean, this is going to be so well received, and the black is going to become even more famous. Can you see maybe a PGA championship? Seems like a lot of the dates are already taken. Maybe the PGA Tour with maybe a tour championship and maybe bringing back one of those FedEx Cup playoffs. Uh, can you see something like that maybe happening within 10 years?
Well, I can tell you this, Frank. Not all the dates are taken. There are
Okay.
possibilities. There are possibilities out there for us, and we're hoping to be able to figure that out and maybe inform the public of what's upcoming in the very, very near future.
Yeah, that's
You know,
a.
with the
I'm
Ryder
sorry.
Cup, one of the things that I'm excited about, and sort of looking back at how the courses have been awarded the event. Uh, Hazeltine's hosting again in a couple of years. They hosted in 2016. That's going to be less than 20 years between hosting. So that possibility being out there for us also down the road is really exciting and something to look forward to.
Yeah, hey, Jeff, we just got some insight there from Scott, and he didn't even know he said it, that all the dates are not taken. Thank you for that. So we can run with that. But, I think you're right. I think it, as popular as Hazeltine was and Medina, I mean, I think that they're going to want to come back here as fast as possible right here to see the Black again.
Yeah, I mean everything that happens in New York, whether it's sports or otherwise, is always bigger. It's always more exciting. So I don't see why they wouldn't.
Sure. Scott, I was out at the U.S. Amateur at Hazeltine 2 years ago, 2 summers ago, and they were very proud of that statistic that they're the only American host course to have 2 Ryder Cups.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be great to have that with Bethpage too. But Scott, you walk around Bethpage, especially there near hole number 1, and you see the legendary sign about the difficulty. But I do see some rocks back there, and one of the rocks is in honor of Dave Catalano, who was the ex-park director there when the '02 and '09 U.S. Open was there. My question to you is, Betsy too, Wittenberger and Dave, have you talked to them over the last few months on the lead up of this Ryder Cup? Because I'm sure they have invaluable information that could help you out and your staff.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to Dave in a bit, but certainly instrumental in the Ryder Cup being there. Because if there wasn't the O2 Open, the Illinois Open, the events that followed that, we wouldn't be talking about this today on spot that asking Dave what we did, with his colleagues at the time in the mid '90s to late '90s to get that U.S. Open here. Really put that page, on the map. Frank, you were referencing earlier that we used to come here and the lines were long. It was a fun place to be, but the O2 Open really set us on a path to what we are now. With that revenue coming in from these events and being able to have, the Black course maintenance and what it costs to maintain that course trickle down to the other 4 courses. We basically have 5 courses that are in championship condition. And that's basically because of what Dave started here. As far as Betsy goes, I wouldn't be here without Betsy. Betsy was the one that tapped me to come replace her. A little history on me. If you want to give me some runway here, Jeff, I started in 2007 with State Parks at Riverbank State Park. It was a 28-acre rooftop park in Harlem, in New York City. It's on the rooftop of the North River Wastewater Treatment Plant, which was built in Harlem in the late 60s. And the give back to the community there for taking the plant was the park on top of the plant. So I started there in 2007 as the operations director, which was basically the number 3 in charge of that facility. As starting at State Parks, I wound up going to statewide conferences and meetings and met Betsy, who was really faculty at those conferences, teaching the guys like me who didn't know any better for what State Park was all about. And developed a relationship with her over the years because of that. And then when she was getting ready to retire, she sort of tapped me on the shoulder at one of these conferences, called me onto the hallway and said, "Hey, look, I'm going to retire in 2 years. I'd like to put your name forward to replace me." And that's what wound up happening. So, I wouldn't be here without Betsy. I do correspond with her often. And she actually mailed me her book from 2019, all the notes from the 2019 PGA Championship and the planning and the leading up to it. She mailed me that. But I've had that to be able to refer to. Yeah, I mean, Betsy, she's great. Maybe one day try a rock out there too. But between Betsy and Dave's Park has seen tremendous leadership over the past 30 years.
Sure.
Scott, the one thing about Bethpage, and it's just amazing how many people are still there for many, many years. They're proud of that place. And, between Lee and Suzanne and, you've done a great job fitting right in there along with Dave and Betsy from the past. And Andy Wilson, Mike Hadley have done a great job out there. And, Craig Courier has moved on to Glen Oaks as well. But you guys are all so friendly out there, and really, you do a great job in making it a really good experience for the public golfers.
Yeah, that's one of the really, again, unique things about Bethpage. And it's been a story that I've tried to tell in the lead up to the Ryder Cup, with just doing media hits and doing podcasts and doing interviews, like Suzanne and Andy, as you mentioned, and Lee, 30 plus years ago. I mean, Andy grew up around the block from me and started working here as a 16-year-old picking trash in the picnic area. And now it's, 35 plus years later, and he's the director of agronomy at the best public golf facility in the country. That's a story. That's definitely a story. Suzanne tells everybody that she grew up here. She started here as a teenager also. And now she's integral to the day-to-day operation. I don't know what I would do without Suzanne. Lee Berticelli as well. Gets really into the weeds on events like this. Does all the little things that nobody really notices except for him. The cleaning the railings, the changing out of pictures in the hallways, making sure the clubhouse is clean. They all play an integral role in not only the Ryder Cup, but this day-to-day operation here about it.
Yeah, Suzanne is from Massapequa. They actually, she lives right down the block from me, so I know her and her family for a very, very long time. Good people, by the way, as you know that. So, Scott, our sponsor is the Tunnel to Towers, as you heard before. For your efforts being a guest, we'd love to send you a pair of leather-wrapped whiskey glasses. We'll get your address, and we'll send you those glasses, and maybe you could we could have a drink on 18 on Sunday when USA wins there, so we'll get that to you. But for our viewers, you could listen to us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, X, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Again, don't forget our Tunnel to Towers website is t2t.org, and you could make as little as $11 a month donation to assist in our American heroes. Scott, I have one more final question for you before we let you go, and I think Dobbs has got one for you too. What is your week going to look like during the Ryder Cup, starting at the 23rd to the 28th? What is your responsibilities going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be a 24-hour day gig. Starting maybe even earlier than the middle of next week, advanced week. Just making sure that my team is in the right place at all times. We could be a event. Obviously, we're here to support the PGA of America and the Ryder Cup staff. Brian Pons, Evan Crowder, Kenny Krogenberger, it's great. We have a really good relationship with all three of them. We've made the process of getting to this point. Some of us easier than it could have been if there was people butting heads or anything like that. But, it's just really supporting PGA of America and the Ryder Cup staff, doing whatever we can for them, making sure that Andy and Mike have the golf course in the condition that KRA wants it, and they can put our best foot forward. Eyes of the world are going to be on Bethpage. Every little thing that we can do to make ourselves put that best foot forward.
Hey, Scott, again, thank you for, taking your time, to come on today. And it was great just getting a lot of the information. And I look forward to seeing you in, less than 13 days. I'm going to be out there next week sometime. But, good luck with everything. And I would like an autographed copy of your book or your notes when you get them all done after this thing as well. So, Scott, thank you for coming on and being a part of the road to the Ryder Cup.
No
Yes,
problem.
Scott. Yeah, awesome, Scott. Thank you so much, and we'll see you shortly at Bethpage, and we wish you the best of luck with this Ryder Cup.
Thanks for having me. Can't wait.
Thank you.